Hello colleagues and friends, my name is Vitaly Zabashtin. I'm a dental technician, keramist with over 25 years of experience. Over the years I have gained a great experience which allowed me to develop my own style of work with different approaches to facing techniques. And I became convinced that our profession is not only a craft that requires deep knowledge and skills, it is also an interesting and creative process. After all, it allows us to find something new in each work to search for our inspiration. In this series of our videos that we record, I will try to share with you my work and show the process of modeling all dental groups. This video will show a deeper and more detailed process of facing the 16th tooth. I think you will like it and enjoy your viewing. We start work with a cupping already lined with opaque crystal. It leisurely replaces the opaque dentin for us. But we want to make the crown more natural, so we use modifiers. We placed a brown modifier near the column dentis. It creates a better adaptation to the gingival tissue and its color. Next is the ochre modifier. We use these modifiers to make the tooth look natural when we create the core of a stained tooth. In the occlusal part, we put ochre occlusal dentin, and at the very bottom of the fissures, we put a modifier that is more brown. Then we use the native opaque dentin color to make our core look more natural. The cupping in this work is large. We cover the edges with deeper dentin, opaque dentin. As you can see, the layers are applied in the same way as the tooth is arranged. So this is how the future work will look. Tubercle by tubercle, and it is not in one general thin layer, but it builds up one on top of the other. That is, at this stage we are already repeating the future shape of our tooth. Thanks to the fact that we have an opaque crystal, it will be very convenient for us to see the construction of two tubercles. It will provide us with the desired effect. We contour each tubercle and make it, as the separate one, its own tubercle. We do this with thin brush strokes to put everything in its place at once. That is, anticipating future work. We close special places exactly at the top of the cap. We cover them with a fairly thick layer of opaque dentin. Now we decorate the surface. We bring the opaque dentin up to the bump, and then we use opaque dentin with the ochre modifier on the surface. This will give us the effect that we will see after firing. All movements are in the direction of the adjacent tooth. So we bring them to the occlusal dentin that we have placed in the fissures. This completes the first step. Now we begin to apply dentin layers. The dentin is taken in the shade of the tooth indicated in the order, and just like we did with the opaque dentin, we apply dentin. The main thing we have to consider is our future shrinkage. We place the dentin almost in the shape of the adjacent teeth. This allows us to create a shrinkage space. Moreover, we are already detailing this work on dentin. In other words, we are laying the foundation for our crown. We have the color core ready. Now we make the dentin base. In the same way, the tubercles are removed and made separately. Now we carefully bring them together in the place we need. Notice how the details of each tubercle and each fissure are more clearly defined. We reduce them to occlusal places that have already been specially marked with modifiers. We try to put the mass in its place and slightly give it the desired shape. It is the small portions that allow the material to take the correct shape. Pay attention to the workability of the masses, how easily and naturally they fit into the tubercle. This is all due to the plasticity of the mass. We make the main large mound, creating all the directions. If you notice, we have left small bulges everywhere. That is, the mount is hidden on them. Pay attention to the detail. The portion must be the size of the object we want to apply. Here we take a slightly larger portion because our object is larger, and we gently crush, push, and put everything in place. Here we are not very enthusiastic and do not take too much. We now reach the size of the teeth standing next to each other. We knock a little and remove excess moisture. After drying a bit, we continue with the already transparent mass. We create the tops of the tubercles with the more transparent materials to make them look deeper, and with the selected enamel, we create shadow zones with a mixture of transparent modifiers. Here we took some light blue and gray and mixed it all with the transparent. The shadow zones run along the vestibular surface. Next, we make the edge of the transparent mass. The same margin is made transparent. Especially in the proximal areas, to create the effect of color migration from one tooth to another. Transparent porcelains allow the color to migrate smoothly, and the crown will appear to match the adjacent teeth. We start to apply enamel after we have finished all the work with transparent materials. We have them under the enamel. We know that the enamel has a slightly darkened structure, and the transparent materials from the inside will give out the effect of depth of color. With enamel, we shape the entire tooth before firing. Taking shrinkage into account, we make it slightly larger than the adjacent teeth. We carefully draw the entire shape of our future teeth. Now we will make each tubercle separately. That is, from the fissure of the cutting edge. We have already transferred the core and color with eternal fillers, and are going to make one tubercle after the other. We see the result a little later. By separating the enamel into small portion, we put it all in its place. As you can see, we have finished one tubercle, and we are not bringing them together. We separate the tuber from the tuber in small portions. We leave the fissure with a clearly defined shape in the head. Our main point of reference is the adjacent teeth and the bite. When we walk in the bite, having already created the shape, the teeth as a whole, we can slam the bite a little. And see where we'll have our scratches. And at the same time, we can remove and highlight everything. In the same way, we bring all the tubercles together. Working with the brush, we try not to use any other tools, just a brush. It creates a surface that is more pleasant for us, and in the future we will save on processing. Now we can decorate the tops of the tubercles with different modifiers. We can take opal and highlight the tops of each tuber. Here is the result of our first firing. If we pay attention, there are no gaps anywhere. We can clearly see where we put the modifiers. In the additive stage, we deal with filling our shrinkage. That is, we create a form that is already close to the final version. As in the previous firings, we bring out tubicles to the cracks. We put everything in place in small portions. We make additions with all the materials we had in stock. Now we make enamel and opal masses. Now we bring the opal into our fissures. They will be brighter and more pronounced. If you look at the cutting edge, you will see our shadow zones, which we placed during the first firing, at the stage of transparent materials. We carefully fill in the areas of shrinkage. Here, as we said at the beginning, we bring the translucent materials for a better adaptation to the dentition. At the neck, we take the same modifier and carefully fill in our shrinkage with a small, thin layer. Try not to get the materials inside the crown. Then we fill in the missing shape with dentin. We bring in under the contact points and, as I said before, with a transparent carefully draw out each bump. Notice how the depth of colors plays in our crown. We have in mind our large crown and its appearance after the firing. There are no sharp transitions, but there is a clear color reproduction. The enamel is gray, translucent from the dentin. It is now obviously visible. And we fill it in carefully, a little bit of translucency as well, and then the enamel goes on. So where we had dentin, we add a bit of dentin. To avoid abrupt transitions, we can mix the dentin we need with the transparent and cover it over the vestibular surface. This way, there will be no uneven transitions from dentin to enamel. In this way, we create a translucent dentin where it contacts the enamel. Again, this helps to eliminate unnecessary sharp contours. Then we simply and accurately recreate our shape, and the tubercles too. After drying a bit, we continue working. You can tap lightly on the tops to slightly compact the mass and level the surfaces. Then we dry it again. You may ask, why the side teeth need to be detailed, since you can't see them anyway? It may not be visible, but every time you try to do something natural, you are always evolving. This is the creativity we talked about earlier. Every time we make a more skillful work, we are creating something, and that is what allows us to love this work and to do it again and again with pleasure. Just as an artist paints a canvas, we paint our teeth. This is our little work of art. You see, we add a little dentin to the neck and then mix it with the transparent. We would rather not have a sharp transition when we cross the enamel edges. Therefore, the portion should be small. Now we can safely create the final shape with enamel. Why small strokes? Because they allow us to apply exactly the amount we need without stretching or mixing. You can position the brush in different directions, along and across, and however you like. The main thing is that small smears do not allow us to fill in the places we want to leave free. These places are tubercles, fissures, and everything else. You can see how the bottom of the fissure plays. Notice how very little mass is needed to fill the form. Everything we have already done is basic for us. The rest are light additions. That is, filling in the missing areas. A little more and our crown will be exactly we wanted to achieve. We emphasize each area a little and we see the miracle of our work. You all know that when everything goes well and we get finished work is extraordinary happiness for the person who makes it, and happiness makes us feel good. The right consistency of the mass helps to apply layer after layer easily and naturally. This is the end of the addition. Here is the result. Now we will start to apply the glaze after a little processing. Note that we have all the colors already applied. We could have given the work away, but we are going to embellish it a bit. We will make it more alive. I mean, we are going to emphasize the color that we put on the column dentis. This gives us a vivid effect, a real tooth standing next to it. As in watercolor, we spread the color over a thin layer of glaze that we have applied before. Then we wash it off. With light, delicate movements, we also wash off our fissure bottom. You can see the nested spots that we put in at the beginning. We accentuate them with a little more paint. And we try to make sure that the color only goes to the bottom. The rest is gently washed and cleaned. We put a few colors on the dentin, strengthen the side areas, especially where the tooth is white. If there is a dark spot, we can make it smaller, because a dark color always looks smaller than a light one. It creates a kind of shadow and a change in space. With white paint, we make small contours, which, due to its dullness, will show a transparent layer in the future, which we applied under the enamel. Such visual tricks as a manifestation of future carries, because you can show many nuances with color. On the finished tooth, like an artist on the canvas, we add juiciness. After firing, there will be a gorgeous effect of transparency under the mate. With the color, we already apply specific individual features that are present in these tooths. With the colors, we already individualize our work. And that's it. The crown is almost ready for the furnace. A little work and effort, and you have a great result, natural and alive.